Hey guys, welcome back to Bryan's Mysteries and Adventures on Trail, and today's case is going to be a little different. This was actually a story that was sent in by an Alex Korkishko, and he sent this in to Garmin InReach about an amazing rescue that took place with him and his 75-year-old father. And basically they were out on the Lake Creek River in Alaska, and they were on the 7th day of an 8th day rafting trip down this river. Now, according to the story, Alex was a very experienced rafter. He had been rafting for more than 20 years. He had taken different rescue classes, participated in rescue, and according to Alex, this trip had been amazing up to this point. They had 2 different rafts. 3 people were in his friend Bryan's boat, and 4 people were in his raft, including him. And that particular day, they had actually passed the most difficult rapid on the river, which is called Rock Garden, and they were trying to get to this camp called Yenlo Camp. Now, his dad and his friend Hen were sitting in the front of his boat, and his son Max were on what they call the rear gear pile. They were roughly about 400 yards from their campsite when their raft hit a rock sideways, which threw the boat just enough to dump both of the people sitting in the front into the river, which was his dad and his friend Hen. According to what Alex said, despite all his years of rafting and all the classes that he took, he said that nothing could truly prepare one for watching your 75-year-old father fall into a freezing Alaskan river. And he said, quote, "The first seconds were crucial." He said that he looked over and Hen revealed that he was staying afloat, but a look at his dad gave him chills that he said he'll never forget. He said that his dad looked like he was panicking, he looked scared, and he was bobbing up and down under the water, out of the water. He, at this time, yelled to his 18-year-old son, who was an expert rafter himself, and he knew the rescue procedures, so he was able to get out of the river right away. But when he saw his grandfather struggling, he jumped back into the river to try and help save him. Now, Max, he tried his best, according to Alex, to grab his grandpa but he just couldn't get to him. So at that point, Alex said that he had 3 swimmers in the river: his son, Hen, and his dad, who at that point he said he believed were drowning. So he knew the first rule of rescue was to not jump in after the swimmers. What you do is when your own father is suffering is another story, he said. He said he leapt into the river, leaving the raft completely empty. Alex stated that he was finally able to catch up to his father, get a hold of his life jacket. Meanwhile, Bryan was trying to catch up to them in the raft, and Alex was just trying to keep his dad's head above water, and also trying to keep a lookout for rocks and other things around them. Now, at this point, the current, he said, was very, very strong, and they ended up swimming roughly 20 to 30 yards before he was able to pull his dad out of the water onto a boulder, which was in the middle of this river. At this point, Alex stated that he was talking to his father. He was trying to ask him questions to assess his mental state. He said that his father's answers were rather slow and muffled, and he believed that hypothermia was setting in, and he felt like his father was fading fast. He said to make matters worse, his leg had gotten stuck on a rock, which was keeping him half underwater, and he had to basically fight to keep him up. And now, of course, Alex was faced with this decision of either staying with his father or going to shore and trying to get help. So what he eventually did was, when his father stopped responding to him, and he just knew he had to get off that rock and do something. He stated that the weather that day was very rainy, and it was in the 50s. They had waders and wool layering on, but the cold was really getting to all of them. So he knew he needed to get his dad to shore as soon as possible and out of this cold water. He told his father he loved him, and that he just please keep breathing and as best you can. He pulled him on top of himself and rolled him off the boulder and back into the river. I mean, I can't imagine how exhausted Alex was at this point. I mean, he's just an amazing hero, this man Alex. But he muscled through this, and he kicked and swam as hard as he could, what he said. And he said that he was able to drag his father to shore, which is amazing because these rivers are just absolutely freezing. And Alex said that he just was so grateful when he felt those rocks under his feet and he was able to stand up and pull his father out of the water. He said that at that point he was breathing, but he was beginning to turn purple, and he was just so scared, and he was, panic started setting in. And apparently at this time he tried to wake him up a little bit, or started doing some kind of CPR. And then he heard his friend Bryan, who had managed to get himself and his raft up to where Alex and his father were. And at this point they both knew that they needed to get his father fully out of the water and onto solid ground. And with Bryan's help, they were able to pull his father's body out of the water. And apparently Bryan started doing chest compressions where Alex did the breaths. It was at this point that Bryan yelled to Max to get their Garmin InReach device. Now, Max was still in one of the rafts, which had got hung up on some of the rocks that were roughly 10 feet from where they were. It was at this point that Max hit the SOS feature on the Garmin InReach. For those of you that don't know, the Garmin InReach is a part of the Iridium satellite network, so it works anywhere in the world. It doesn't need cell service or anything like that. It works off of a satellite. So he went ahead and pressed this SOS button, and he stated that within 1 minute they got a response back asking what was your emergency. And it was also at this point where Alex's father, was finally able to spit up some of the water and was able to start speaking a little bit and showed signs of color starting to come back in his face. So they were just all, if this was the first time since this started that they all started feeling a little bit of relief. While Alex was trying to get his father into some dry clothes, Max was providing the emergency services, the information on his father, the age, all of that info to Garmin International Emergency Response Coordination Center. And they were messaging them back and forth. They were able to contact Alex's wife, who was the emergency contact, because all of that info is on your Garmin when you register for this type of account. And apparently, according to Alex, he said that they were absolutely amazing at communicating and keeping them up and his wife up in the loop and everybody informed. They even called his wife on the phone every 20 minutes, which of course she was amazingly grateful for. They were able to get his father into some dry clothes, and then they pulled the raft closer to the father, and apparently it took all four of them to get him into the bow of the boat. They finally made it to their campsite that they initially were trying to get to. Max rushed over and got the sleeping bags and started getting everything set up so that they could help get his father warm. And Bryan pulled up minutes after in his raft and helped them get his father into the tent. His dad was breathing better. His breaths were short, but he was showing signs of hypothermia. So they knew that they were going to need a helicopter evacuation, and they notified the Garmin InReach emergency staff that they needed a helicopter evac. And apparently that day planes and helicopters weren't flying due to the crazy weather, and they were really scared at this point that they weren't going to be able to get him out. But right as that thought crossed their mind, they got a message back from the Garmin InReach emergency staff that the helicopter was inbound and the ETA was roughly 25 minutes. Alex said they kept trying to keep his father awake, and Bryan made hot tea for him, and Mark gave up all his dry clothes and warm clothes for Hen and his dad, and Hen was getting minor hypothermia as well, so they basically had two people that they were in a crisis mode with. And Alex said that as the 25-minute ETA came in about, they heard the rotating blades of a flying Black Hawk came over the treetops, and they were beyond overjoyed. And this is an actual picture from the scene. And I guess 2 hours after pushing the actual emergency button, the Black Hawk was evacuating Alex's father from the middle of nowhere in Alaska. And I just think that is incredible. And again, is a reason why I'm always talking about these Garmin InReach or satellite devices. Alex stated it was just an amazing sight. He said that, quote, 3 soldiers jumped out just like in the movies, and one introduced himself and in an assertive, polite manner took complete charge of the situation. He went into his dad's tent, took the vitals, started asking questions, and it was at that time that the decision was made to hoist his dad out instead of trying to carry him to the helicopter. And according to Alex, the paramedics and everyone did a fantastic job organizing and getting the rescue done. He stayed in constant radio communication, and he said it was just a wonderful experience dealing with these people. Obviously, it was a terrifying experience altogether, but dealing with the Garmin InReach emergency response people was just an amazing experience. He said they were absolutely wonderful. They treated them so well, and within 1 day of being rescued, his father was discharged from the hospital. Alex said that he had no broken ribs, no pneumothorax, no major trauma. He did have a bruised rib cage from, some of the CPR and minor heart damage, but the doctor at the hospital said that his dad was lucky to be a strong person and to have his friend Bryan there, who was a strong person to perform CPR the right way, and of course to have all of his other friends there, his son, and of course the emergency response team from Garmin InReach, who provided a rescue that was life-saving. And I know that Alex said in this report he did ask himself a few times whether he thought he should have triggered the SOS, but honestly he felt thankful that he had the InReach and that he did it. He made the right choice, and in this particular case he really did. I mean, who knows what his father could have had broken ribs. He had been unconscious. He was starting to suffer from hypothermia. They were in the middle of nowhere, and InReach just did an amazing job between what InReach did and what Alex and his friends were able to do with the training they had. And it was just the combination of these two things that were able to help save Alex's father's life. And I think what Alex says at the end, that, accidents will happen no matter how well trained you are, and just having that kind of gear is and can be life-saving. And I just wanted to say hats off to Alex and Bryan and Max and Hen and his father, and I'm just so happy that this ended with a happy ending, and I'm so glad that you had the Garmin InReach with you and that you all had such great training and were able to come through this. And I just think that this is an incredible story, and they all did an amazing job. They're heroes, and I'm just so happy that Alex's father is okay. So, of course, I wanted to share this story with you all because I love stories that have a positive outcome, and it just goes to show you that having the proper gear and the proper training, all of it ties in together. It's not just one thing, and I'm just so thankful that they had all of the training and they had the Garmin InReach, and they were able to get Alex's father out to safety, and everybody came out okay. Alright everybody, that's the end of today's video. I want to thank you so much for watching, and please be respectful in the comments if you choose to leave them. Special thank you to co.ag for providing the background music, and I will see everybody in the next one. Take care. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me to the end. First, I just wanted to say thank you to Alex for submitting this story to InReach and sharing it with the world. I think it's a great story, and I'm just so happy that everything worked out for you. If you guys are interested in buying a merch calendar, I'll have that info in the description. They are $17, and you can pay by Venmo or PayPal. And if you guys have any case suggestions for me or would like to submit a wilderness story of your own, I'll have my email in the description, and you can send me an email. Or if you have any questions. Now, I do have something I wanted to talk to you guys about the upcoming holidays, something that I was thinking of doing. I really want to figure out a way to send you guys a Christmas card from the channel. I think that would be such a cool idea, but I can't think of a way so far to do it without going bankrupt. I mean, just the card alone and the postage. So if you guys have any ideas for me, I know you can do electronic cards, but I don't know. I just have always loved getting real mail, and I don't know. I was thinking about having some kind of a card printed up, and I don't know. I don't know how it would work. Maybe if we had, if you donated $1 or something. I think that's weird though, asking for a donation to get a Christmas card. You know what I mean? So if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions, or if you think it's a dumb or silly idea, the only thing I could think of to make it plausible was to, if the person donated $1, $50, or whatever the postage is now, 58 cents, and then, you know, $1. I mean, I'm sure I could figure out how to make a Christmas card and do it in mass, or I don't know. I just thought it'd be a fun idea, and I know it may sound crazy to you all, and you might think this guy is loco, but I would really like to send you guys a Christmas card somehow, but I just really don't know how to go about doing it. So I'm all ears. Please send me your suggestions, email me, or send me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Hope everyone's having a great week, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Take care.